Welcome to the Jockey Club, a podcast looking at the movie Let It Ride, one scene at a time. My name is Dan Delgado, and we're at historic Hialeah Park where one man is having the best day of his life.
I'm having a good day.
So come on in and hang out while we talk about this day and the greatest movie of all time, Let It Ride. Don't worry about that guy at the door. I've got you covered. You can even
take my seat to the Jockey Club.
Welcome back to the Jockey Club. My name is Dan Delgado, and we are up to episode 26, which means that we'll be doing the 26th scene of Let It Ride. And really, it's the 26th scene according to me. This is the scene where Trotter returns home to Pam after leaving the track with $69,000. And if you're following along at home, this is going to be from minute 108.58 to 110.49. Joining me at my usual table is Eric Delgado, my usual guest, a gambler and the person I saw Let It Ride with a long time ago. So now let's head on up to my usual table at the Jockey Club, where we'll be discussing duplex living, pearl clutching, and the 26th scene of Let It Ride. So here we go. We are finally at the point where Trotter comes home. Eric, he's coming home, I guess, this is the only time that we're really inside the Trotter household, correct? I mean, we've seen it when he called Pam, but this is the first time that we're in the Trotter household, right?
Right. We've seen the bedroom.
Yes.
We've seen the living room. And I'll tell you honestly, I've tried to, over the viewings, I've tried to kind of assess what kind of dwelling we have here. You know, like honestly, when we first see the bedroom, it almost looks like an apartment. You know, like it's not very impressive.
Well, I believe it's a duplex that he lives in because the address is a half when he says the address earlier.
Yes. That's a good detail. Is
Yeah,
that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And,
That makes
I've got another
sense.
one for you. This happened on an episode that you were not on, so I don't know if you heard it.
Yeah.
But the address that he gives is not in Dade County at all, but there is an address that's really close in Fort Lauderdale.
Wow. Okay, well that makes sense too.
Entirely possible that you could live in Fort
Yeah.
Lauderdale and drive a cab in Miami. That's not out of the realm of things. So
yeah, that's actually logical, right? That'd be where to do the best business. So he's probably in a duplex.
yes. All right, so here's my question to you, Eric, as someone who has lived in apartments and duplexes
Sure.
in this time period in this part of the world.
Oh, yeah. I'm quite learned.
All right, so how would you rate the Trotter apartment, the Trotter duplex? How is this household? What do you think when you're looking around?
Okay. Honestly, for a guy who's in his mid-40s, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they don't tell us, but I mean, Dreyfuss is about 42 when he makes this movie.
Right. Excuse me, just, you know what? Can we hold on that question?
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to drink, sir?
Hi, yeah. Can I just get a rum and Coke with actually a Diet Coke? Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, we were saying...
The Trotter household, how would you rate this apartment? How does it look to you?
Yeah, it's pretty lacking. You know, it's below average housing, in my opinion.
Below average. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a tiny little living room. He walks in, it's one of those where you're, like, immediately thrust into the living room.
Yes.
Which always seems low rent to me. That bedroom looked, like I said, apartment-type bedroom.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, this seems like a little, like, 1,200 square foot, kind of duplex thing that maybe it's only a one-bedroom, maybe, I don't know.
I'm just going to tell you right now, what you just said is larger than where I live right now. 1,200
honestly,
square feet.
When I thought about it, I did think about your apartment. And I thought, isn't his something like 1,000? 900?
900.
But still, yours is an apartment.
It
right?
isn't, yeah.
Right, so a duplex has got to be bigger than that. That's why, even
I see. The expectations are a little better. Okay.
Yeah, but still, you're on the low end of Like what I'm saying, okay, your 1,000 square foot apartment is not as low rent as the 1,200 square foot duplex. Because, you're in a
I'll
different category.
take that as a win.
Okay?
All right.
That's what I'm trying to say. So I think, yeah, with two 40-year-old people who, have jobs and should be somewhat, this is not, I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
I give a low grade. Now, it seems, neat enough. It's not a pigsty.
That's true. It is in decent condition.
Yeah, she
Right.
keeps it up well enough. She's got some pride in herself.
Well,
But yeah. Oh, well, you're right.
up until this point,
Yeah, this might be right. We've caught her at a bad time.
this is the point where she's decided to let the pride go. So
Well,
this is a very short scene. We should discuss exactly what happens. Trotter comes home, and Pam is passed out, drunk on the couch. And I love that this is his leading line. It's very telling. The first thing he says to her is, "I didn't bet." That's the first line he has. "I didn't bet we're rich."
right.
So
It's
I'm not leading that with "we're rich." I want you to know that I did not do the thing that you didn't want me to do. I did not bet.
right. And that's based on that conversation that is so convoluted between them, where he's on one track and she's on a couple of tracks, where she's not quite hearing everything he's saying, but at the end you might get that she does. She's saying you can take the bed and you can make bets with that. You can sell the refrigerator. I love that. Take the bed and make bets with it. That's how clueless she is. Like, he would actually take the bed down. Maybe there's an area at the track, that you can say, all right, what do you got? What's that, a queen? All right, yeah, that's 800. All right, give me 6 quinellas. Give me
great.
10 $50 win tickets. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's just a bad idea. Like, I was thinking, I wonder how could that work? Right? Like, why isn't there a pawn shop that's just opened right inside a
Dude,
track? Right?
In Vegas that they're set up for things like, sell your car immediately. Make bets with it. Make bets with your car. That's so she's close, right? Except for it's make bets with your bed.
With your bed.
Yeah, that's not likely in Vegas because you're most likely at some temporary housing.
That's true.
But yeah, so you have that conversation where he's trying to tell her, no, it's all good, and she's gone way off the cliff to the point where she proclaims that she's going to now become a professional alcoholic.
That's it. Your thing is
And,
gambling. My thing is going to be alcohol.
Right. And it's wonderfully sweet and sad at the same time, because she's talking about how much in love she is with Jay and she can't just do without him. So I'm going to give in to your sickness and I'm going to develop my own. But anyway, so that is the lead up to when he walks in and says, "I didn't bet." He says it like as if she's going to be completely cogent to the situation.
Yes.
Which, when we see her hang up, we have no faith in that she even knows what's going on.
Oh, absolutely not. No, nothing at all has entered from what he's been saying. It all just kind of filtered through. She heard none of that. She was already 3 sheets to the wind, and she does just sort of hang up on him while
Yes.
while he's still trying to find out if she meant it when she said "I love you."
I know. Then she says, "Mean what?" Oh, that's awesome.
So he shows up. He announces, "I didn't bet." He announces that we're rich. He has all the things that you would have to woo your woman.
Indeed.
Champagne. Mm-hmm. He shows her that he has bought her a brand new necklace.
Bling.
And then, because those don't seem to do anything, because, she's passed
0.
out drunk, right?
0. Yeah.
Then he brings out, this is the winner. This will wake her up.
Yes.
He brings out the money box, pops it open. What does he say?
$69,000. Like, it's almost like he knows how iconic his line was from earlier, which is, of course, it is to the audience. We all love his delivery of that line because he doesn't just say $69,000, $69,000. but he gives the little muted version.
Yes. It's almost game show-esque.
$69,000.
Right?
Right, and you know what? It's a little meta when you think about it, right? Because he's aware, again, that he's given this great delivery. So, yeah, that's what he says.
So, pops it open. Here it is, $69K. And she does actually wake up for a moment here.
Oh, yeah, she has her best line of the movie.
This is the best line?
It's my favorite line.
Piles and piles? What does it mean?
Piles of tiles.
Oh, is that piles of tiles?
She says piles of tiles. And first of all, she says 9 piles of tiles. She says 9
Okay.
piles of tiles?
9 piles of tiles.
Oh, this is really
That's-
good because
Yeah.
I did hear the 9, but I wasn't sure, like, what does that mean? But I've always thought it was piles and piles.
Oh, right. So when you think about him saying $69,000, I guess that's what she's trying to repeat. You know, she gets the 9,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then it's $1,000, right? So she says piles of tiles. So she hears it. What's great is that she doesn't deliver it drunk. She hears it drunk, right? So she's repeating what she thinks she heard.
Okay.
Usually we're trying to say something correctly and you're slurring it because you can't get the words out, but she says them perfectly. So it's like reverse drunk. Her ears are drunk somehow instead of her mouth.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. I like this because I now actually feel as though I've learned something new here. Okay, so
Yeah.
the way it was originally written, or at least in this
Yeah.
version of the screenplay,
Yeah.
so he says, "Sweetheart, $69,000," and
Yeah.
she looks at it and says, "It's all right." And then he picks up the cash, like a handful of money, and holds it up and says, "Look!" And she passes out.
Wow. So it is an ad lib.
Yes.
It's great. Man, that's great by her. Because it's I'll tell you what, I remember in the theater for sure I had no idea what she said. Like I had no idea. I just couldn't figure it out. But you're right about it sounding very game show like.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. Also, what's noted in the screenplay is a little bit of the apartment decor. And so it says how Trotter sits on the couch. His wife is passed out. Now, listen to this and see how this plays to you.
Okay.
If you notice it while you're watching the movie. The kicked-in TV set staring him in the face.
Oh.
So he has a
absolutely
TV
not.
set that is kicked in. Has to be by him, of course, right?
Of course. Right. Yep. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. If that does exist, how do we feel about this? Especially looking at it right now in 2020, I think we feel like, oh, okay, this is some sort of messed up, really bad relationship, right?
Yeah, but you know what I would probably think is that this is probably based on just, because this is the character development that we have. I'm thinking this is him betting on some other sport like football.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it
Yeah.
is.
And so they probably, for good reason, decide not to include that because it does change him, when we're thinking about that. Because, there's a big difference that we learn, like when you see the way Looney is. Looney's betting on anything and everything. And we like to think Jay is not doing that. Jay is, a horse bettor. And he goes out there, so it's a little difference in his integrity.
Yeah.
So I think that we need that if we're going to continue, if we're going to back him as hard as we do.
Exactly.
Because, I guess much like one of your other guests asserted, his issue with the film was that we don't learn anything.
Okay, yes.
Right, there's no lessons to be learned, which I object on that. I completely disagree. But I think that in this area, we're much more accepting of him if he's not complete, just degenerate loser.
Exactly. I feel as though it's one of those things that's a little beyond the pale for us.
Yep.
If we see
Yep.
that I am positive that he kicked that TV in because the Dolphins lost. But,
Yes.
but it does indicate a level of anger and violence that we don't want to see in him.
Exactly,
So,
right. No, it's not worth it, even though for a second it might seem funny.
Yes, exactly.
But-
it's clearly written to be funny. It's meant
Yeah.
to be funny. But yeah,
Right.
it is the kind of thing where you're like, eh. Okay, so Pam is passed out. Trotter takes a look at the coffee table and sees an empty booze bottle, a mixing glass, an ashtray full of cigarettes, a lighter, a martini glass, a jar of olives, and toothpicks. There you go. So clearly Pam has been smoking and making martinis.
Right.
That's got to be her,
Yeah.
her drink of choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about how quickly she became committed to the alcoholism, and it goes like full bore. Like by the time he even gets home, she's like, "Look, I've done it. I'm a complete alcoholic."
See, but what I like is that, if you're going to be a blackout drunk alcoholic, you might just think of someone just pouring shots or just drinking straight out of the bottle, that sort of a thing.
Right.
But from what the evidence that we have, she's taking the time to mix herself a proper drink.
Pam is a classy broad. Okay, here's a little evidence of that. Is that in that scene where she comes to the Jockey Club, and I think it's the line when she says, "I don't know why people don't just watch them go around the track without betting," and she gets that that terrible reception. Right? Like, I'm not sure if that's the line, but there's a line where she gets like the whole Jockey Club is like upset.
That is absolute. I don't know why you can't just watch the horses run around and not bet on them. Yes.
So what happens is, if you remember, what happens is that when she gets the reaction, which is whatever the scoffing, she does the thing where she reaches for like her, her collar, like or her blouse, the top of her blouse.
Yes.
So like this is that. Old timey lady move to like, oh my gosh, you masher, but it's sort of a classy move. There's not too many modern women make this move, but she makes that move. Like, oh, how dare you, look at me that way.
Yeah, it's a little pearl clutching, I think might be what you call it. But yeah, it's in that vein. Yes, she does.
That's really good, pearl clutching, because that does sound like, again, a little classy, right?
Oh, yes. When Trotter goes ahead and blows a raspberry at everyone, I believe there is a woman who literally clutches her pearls at that moment.
Probably does.
Yeah.
Right. And now that I think about it, I think in the scene where she's in the bedroom and she's dressed and she points to it like somebody's watch, like, I did all this, whatever. But then she does it again. I think she grabs, because she's wearing like a little robe or something, and she clutches it, right? She grabs it up at one point where she's like, oh my goodness, whatever. So, yeah, so she's got classy broad moves, that's all. So
classy tendencies.
There you go.
Okay, sure.
So the martini makes perfect sense.
So while your wife is now blackout drunk and you're sitting there with your $69,000, it just so happens that Trotter notices a deck of cards sitting out on the table.
Yeah, very used, by the way. Well-worn deck of cards.
Well-worn deck of cards. And
Yeah.
here the music is swelling. And he makes a declaration. What's the declaration, Eric?
Well, 5 of clubs.
There you go. 5 of clubs.
Just before he does it.
Okay.
Is what's so interesting in this viewing. So he looks, and I've always thought this, but just to be honest, he looks up when he says it. It's almost like he's looking to the heavens.
Yes.
When he says it, he's like,
oh yeah,
he's telling them, who's ever up there is who he's talking to. He says 5 of clubs, but he's looking up, and then he picks it up. Yeah.
And there it is, 5 of clubs.
Right.
Oh my God! What are we gonna do now? I mean, this is the end of the scene. Now he's got to sit here and think for a moment. But so, you, sir,
Yeah.
whenever you've been on a heater, as they say,
Yeah.
have you ever thought, all right, time to go, but maybe let me just check something real quick, because maybe I'm still hot.
It's a good question. All right, so this is definitely in the wheelhouse of anybody who's, trying to be good at any of this kind of stuff. Okay. So I do have a lot of thoughts about it as I'm watching this, and even on repeat viewings, even knowing what's coming next. I am thrilled that he got out of there with the 69,000. And I'm so glad that he made it home. He's already made a purchase. Okay. So if you remember way back when we had a really good day at the casino,
Sure.
right? At the slots, right? I said, okay, look, the thing to do right now is to get out of this area and go and spend some of this money, right?
Yes.
And you and I bought these really cool shirts, and then we had this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
Wow. What happened to that shirt anyway? I don't even know what they look like, but yeah,
really?
you're right.
I
we
still
did.
have it. It's so big that it's stupid. Because I think it was big to begin with, but I've tried it on a dozen times in the last 10 years, and it never looks good. I was like, oh my gosh,
Okay.
I can't wear it. But I keep it. I don't even know why I keep it around because maybe I'll get that fat, and then it'll look fine. So that's not a good reason.
Wait. So we didn't get the same one though, did we?
No. I got.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Yours was more bowling shirt looking. That's not a negative, but it was one of those that had the two-tone color, kind of
no,
deal.
that sounds like me. That sounds like something I would buy.
It was
Yeah,
your
okay.
type, and mine was one, was like a light cotton, blue cotton. But they were both
Okay.
like $100 shirts, that were on some rack waiting for us. And then we spent
Jackasses.
we spent like $500 on steaks and Goldschlager.
Oh my God, we did
Yep.
this.
Oh
Jesus. I ask, even though I know I remember.
Yeah, I know you remember. But
It was
we
a good
killed
day.
it. We killed
I would say
it.
it was a good day though.
Every one of us won
It's a
more
really
than
good day.
We all won more than $500 at slots, which is like, are you kidding me? Getting out of there with even your money is
Heck
great.
yeah.
So it was fantastic. But the point is that he's done that, right? So even what's more impressive to me is that they don't show it, but he buys the jewelry. So he
Yes.
obviously had to stop off and he bought
Yes.
something, right? That's a big deal. I can just tell you that's a big deal because it sort of seals the event. Okay, I'm done now. I'm on the part where I'm enjoying the spoils. And
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. It's like that mentality. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's what's so interesting because he really has completely escaped it.
Yes, and he even
And
made
has-
his list.
Gone all the way home.
Yes.
I mean, have you ever done that where you went all the way home and then you still thought, maybe I should go back? I'm going to guess that hasn't happened to you.
No, honestly, what happens is you get home and you have this relief of that's right. Now I did that. I didn't get lured back in. I I have the big win, whatever it is. Now again, you celebrate. Now it's the spoils because up until then, it's up for grabs. It's in peril until you do that. And so I'm reassured that he's got the money box and he's bought, like you said, he's bought the flowers and the bracelet. The necklace. And so it's right, let me just tell you, it's really difficult from that point to get momentum again. It's easier up until then because you've done nothing else, right? It's still like I said, it still exists as a possibility to give it up. But no, we're already on to the thing. We're chopping it up. At the very most, what you might do at this point is say, and I guarantee you, right, everybody's going to agree with me that has experience with this. You might say, all right, I'm going to take $3,000 and I'm going to go and see what I can do with that. But I'm not taking $69,000 back. No way, right? When I started, I had $50, right? So to take $3,000, that's what you'll tell yourself. If you can't do it with, whatever your number is, if you can't do it with that, then you're done. So the idea of this is otherworldly. It absolutely is.
I hadn't thought about it like this, but you're really onto something here. The idea that you've completely escaped You've already kind of, as you put it, you've done your chop. You went ahead, you spent a little, you went all the way home. You still feel that you have the magic. You've proven it to yourself, whether that's real or not. And then the insanity to say, you know what? I'm going back. And I'm bringing everything I still have. Everything I didn't spend is going with me. That's just crazy.
This is why, okay, look, and I say this all the time because it's so commonplace to understand, but it's like, all right, Jay Trotter's life. If you're going to make a movie out of Jay Trotter at any point of his whole life, you say, when would it be? When would we, detail that moment? And it's obviously this, right? And this is where I say, okay, this is why it's the moment. Because he's going to do something that nobody would ever do. That's unheard of completely. Like, even up till now, his day, impressive, right? It's great. It probably can, compel him. It can change his life. Like from this point on, it's a stepping stone to, a springboard, to a much better life for him right now. But you could still say, okay, yeah, that happens to a lot of people. That's sure. That's when you're in this life that can happen. But this moment right here is why you have the movie. To me, that's why it's such a critical moment. Because nobody would do the thing he's about to do. And you also say, okay, well, like, what would even be the goal? Because $69,000 in 1989, this is just a ridiculous amount of money. Like, if you say, Jay, what's the number, what would your greatest goal be? I mean, obviously, people might say, $1 million. But let's be realistic. What would make you go, yep, it's the greatest day ever? $69,000. We don't know that, even he doesn't know that he's going to go for $586,000, right? Which is, I think, is what it comes out to. I think it's 586. So it's not like, hey, it's not over. I got to go and it's not over till I hit 500. He's not pursuing a goal. Right?
No, there's not a goal. There's not a goal. It's just to ride it. It's just finish the ride. The ride is still happening. I have evidence.
Yeah.
That the ride is still going on.
Yes.
And if I don't act on it, I'm going to squander it. I got to ride it all the way to the end.
Right. Which, again, this scene also for me, because of this moment, really secures the notion that there's something mystical going on. Because this scene it's like the atmosphere in that duplex, it's very hazy, right? Like it's sun drenched, and then it's also got some like filters going on. You're hearing that, those little chimes going, and then what he does, Radio Dan, is something. It's unbelievable. Okay, so far he's been picking one horse out of 10. Right?
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Now he's sitting there, some random deck of cards he hasn't had his hands on, that's just sitting there, 52-1 chance, and he nails that. It's not even connected to what he's been doing. It's not like, hey, I'm really in the zone at my tennis game today. I'm really in the zone picking horses today, right? He's affirming the fact that something ridiculous is going on inside him today where he can't lose. So that's a whole different thing up till now, because everything he's done has been betting on the horses and getting it right. Now he just sees something where it's some other ridiculous game of chance that he decides, right? It's not even, he just picks his own game. I'm just going to cut the deck and guess the card. And he nails it. And so it secures the fact that while it's the craziest thing, I'm sick to my stomach that he's going to go back. It's also like, that move you just made, nobody makes that move.
Nobody makes that move.
Right. So it's like, it's come from the heavens. What's going on? He looks to the heavens, and then they respond.
Well, now that you've put it this way, I'm going back to the track. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Jockey Club. This episode was hosted and produced by me, Dan Delgado. Thank you to my guest, Eric Delgado. Our music is from Epidemic Sound. Our cover art is by Sean Labrie. And if you enjoyed this episode, and I would like to think that you did, then maybe you can help the show out by buying me a coffee. It's a real legit thing. There's a link to it in the show notes on how to do it. But if you're saving up all your pennies to bet on the 4-horse this weekend, hey, I understand. You can still support the show by leaving a free 5-star review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you may be listening. Just a quick reminder, there is Jockey Club merch. You want a t-shirt that has the Jockey Club logo emblazoned upon it? Well, you can certainly do that. There's a link to it in the show notes as well. If you would like to contact me, you can send me an email. It's dan@moviemaker.com. I am on Twitter at _Dan_Delgado. Or even better, I'm on the Repod app, which is a great way to not only listen to podcasts, but to interact with podcast hosts like myself. Find it in your app store and come on by and say hello. This has been Dan Delgado for the Jockey Club. And remember, sometimes you could be walking around lucky and not even know it.